Welcome to episode 42 of Venti Questions, the show with friends, coffee, and conversation. My name is Michael.
And I'm Chris. And today we are doing our wrap-up episode of Season 2 of Venti Questions.
So this one's going to be a little bit different of a format. We're going to go over all of the different topics that we did a episode on this season, and then we're going to give a little bit of an update / preview of what we have moving forward after this at the end. So
With us at the end. How about that?
exactly. So make sure you listen all the way to the end to find out what the future may or may not hold.
Sus- All right, Michael. So let's go into our first episode of this season, which was Holidays.
Holidays.
Holiday.
I think for the first couple of like 3 or 4 episodes, we were trying out our new, more structured system. We were trying to do more of a researched, nuanced, informational type situation.
Right.
I want to say I had like 5 pages of notes
Yeah.
for this particular episode.
Wikipedia just took over our podcast for a moment there.
I mean, it was all really interesting.
It was awesome.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. History.
Yeah. And it also sprinkled in some of our favorite conversation, which is something that I didn't realize till after reviewing all the stuff we did about religion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Apparently, talking shit about religion is like one of our favorite
It
pastimes.
happens to come up.
A lot. It's almost like religion is really important in the day-to-day life of human beings or something.
Something like that.
But no, that was a fun episode.
Any opinions change for you on that you may have stated in terms of like I was going to say religion, holidays.
Not really. I Halloween's still my favorite holiday.
Yeah.
I still don't really care for holidays that much. I barely even remembered that it was Easter this
Right.
past Easter.
Right.
I literally remembered about it on Sunday at like 2:00 because I went to go out and like get some food and then saw a sign on the door that said we're closed for Easter, and I was like, oh yeah, damn, today's Easter. So like I just don't care.
I just think it's funny that like most companies do Christmas off, but they're like, yeah, fuck Easter.
Well, it's because
It's
Christmas
even though it's
no
more
more-
important in the Christian like faith.
which is funny because in all reality, it shouldn't be more important in the Christian faith. The resurrection or, oh, he was born on this day.
Even no one celebrated birthdays then.
That's what I'm saying. That's why the resurrection should be more important.
Yeah.
But anywho, we followed that one up with Death, which was actually one of like fan favorites. That one has one of our highest view counts actually, with 55 views.
Oh yeah.
We have a cheat sheet right here, by the way, because we can't remember
No.
6 months ago. That was an interesting one. I do recall some of the conversations just about how death is looked at throughout the world, and then also just like the way we look at it as individuals. And I think it's an interesting topic, but I just didn't expect as many people to also like kind of gravitate towards it as they did.
Yeah. It's interesting. People want to know about death
Yeah. Well, I think it's the one thing that we all share.
in life. But
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, regardless, we all die and we all were born.
We all go back to the source. The one.
Don't you mean Trinity?
You know, yeah, but they're all part of the same thing.
Anywho, that we considered a debate for a different day because today is Everyday Debates, episode number 24.
Oh, look at that. Nice little segue.
This one was just a fun episode
Yeah.
because that was literally, there was so many times where you said something that I was just like,
Right.
are you freaking kidding me?
We found out about each other.
Like 20 something years and you fucking really?
Yeah.
You don't think that goes with that? What the hell?
Right.
That was a very interesting one. That one I think really, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I should have cut that one up and thrown it on freaking TikTok so badly.
Oh yeah, it went perfectly, like mayo and peanut butter.
Okay, what does go perfectly though is peanut butter and pickle.
Elvis thought so.
I mean, he's the king.
He's the king.
There's no denying that. Then after that, we did an episode on aliens.
Yep.
Which was actually somewhat like tame. I think that we actually went a little bit more into alien type stuff when we had our like conspiracy theory conversation later in the season.
Right.
But aliens in general, we also talked about them a little bit with our space one. Like there was a couple of them where we talked about aliens more, I think, than the actual alien episode.
And there's like no evidence, zero evidence for aliens that can be produced.
No.
And we talked about it.
Yeah, we basically just talked about like Roswell.
Yeah.
And then like the UFO declassification stuff from the Pentagon during COVID.
Didn't talk about is the Ridley Scott movie Aliens,
which I have never seen.
Interesting.
Let's figure here. I know the story of the first one. I've seen it. I've probably seen about 2/3, maybe 3/4. Never like straight through, just like scene by scene by scene.
Right.
I've seen maybe like 2 scenes from Aliens.
Mm.
I saw like 4 or 5 scenes from Alien Resurrection. And then I've seen like maybe 2 or 3 scenes from Prometheus.
Interesting.
The other one, like the one with Danny McBride, I didn't see that one at all. And Franco?
I have not seen a full Aliens movie.
Oh, really? You either? I didn't know that.
No, I was a Predators guy.
So I've seen the first Predator
right
2 or 3 times, easy. And I've only seen scenes from the second one. I didn't watch the Adrian Brody one, and we haven't seen Prey. I still want to freaking watch Prey.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of them.
Actually, spoiler for our screen discussions programs, that was the franchise I was going to recommend we do next.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I think that there's a lot of talk about them actually doing more with the franchise because of how well Prey did. That I think it'd be cool to kind of like catch up before like the next one.
It'd be good. Would we tie into Aliens versus Predator? Because
bonus round maybe, because I'd have no interest in watching the Alien movies.
Yeah, but it's literally like a versus movie.
Oh, I know. I've seen it.
That's all it is. Okay. Yeah.
I've seen the first one. There's 2 of them.
Yes.
I
can't remember either one of them, but yeah, I remember there's a pool scene in one of them. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho, yeah, no, Aliens was a fun one, but it was one of those ones where I feel like we were scraping the bottom of the barrel with our own personal knowledge, just because we don't really give a shit about aliens.
No, I don't give a shit about aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
one thing we do give a shit about is animals,
especially when they have jobs.
Right.
Now the problem with that one is that it was probably one of our least viewed episodes, and I thought it was one of the coolest freaking episodes, man.
In terms of like topic,
like subject matter, like there was so much information in that one.
Yeah.
Found out about freaking like bomb detecting rats. What?
People don't like either animals or jobs, so
I was highly disappointed with the how well that one did. I actually thought that was going to be like one of our like, oh wow.
I think PETA probably like ran ads against it.
Yeah, they probably tried to hate on us.
Right.
Yeah, that one didn't even break 20 views.
No,
that was literally our worst one so far. I think that might have been our worst one the entire season, to be completely honest with you.
But apparently, there are either a lot of women who want to know this or men who want to understand this, because episode 27, Expectations of a Father, did pretty well.
I want to say it's our most viewed. It has like 66 views.
Yeah.
I think it really is like our most double checking. Yeah,
I think it is.
it is our most viewed one currently.
That's interesting to me.
I mean, it was a good conversation. And I think also it wasn't clickbaity at all. Like, none of our topics are clickbaity.
No.
Because we actually make sure we actually are talking about the subject at hand. But what I will say is that in doing research for that, slim pickings, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
It was very difficult for me to find. So my plan going in for that one was I was going to take each decade and find what like the stereotypical expectations were of like the man of the house, right? And kind of compare throughout the decades. I couldn't find anything on anything for like days.
Right.
I happened to stumble upon a singular freaking website that had some stuff broken down, and I just like took as much as I could from there. But yeah, there's really just not that much on there. It's a lot of people just asking questions.
I think it's because there's not a lot of expectations
No, there's
of
not.
a father.
They're either they do one thing and they are looked at like they're a saint, or they don't do anything and they're like, well, what do you expect? It's the father.
Right. It's funny. We were I was at some work thing, and basically one of the experiences of people, and it's supposed to be on, I don't know, some like diversity and inclusion training thing or whatever, but it's like those assumptions people make. And it's always interesting whenever the father is doing something that the mother always does and gets praised for it. So it's like, oh, you're watching them? You're babysitting? No, they're your child. You're not babysitting your own child.
Yeah, I always enjoyed that one.
Like,
or like,
picked her up. Like today, I picked my daughter up from school, and I'm like, people look at you differently. It's like, oh, that's so. Oh, your daddy's picking you up to. Oh, it's like a special thing. It's like, but like, why?
Yeah,
I'm dad. Like,
I know.
You know, like. It's such a double weird standard.
So stupid.
And we're praised for it.
I know.
Like, what?
But it's like patronizingly praised.
Yeah.
That's why it's fucking frustrating.
Oh, you're actually here?
Oh. Yeah.
That was like a Bill. Wow. That was like a Bill Burr Gaffigan moment. Like,
no, I was
put
actually
them together.
Getting the dude from Mad TV. Look what I can do.
Look what I can do. Look what I can do.
Stewart.
Stewie. Yeah, Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stewart.
Anywho, the next one was another one that actually didn't perform very well, but I actually thought was interesting too. So basically, I figured it out. All the ones that I think are interesting doesn't do crap.
Yeah, no one likes what you like.
Yeah, that's what it works out. Which was our topic of AI.
AI.
Here's the thing about AI. I think that right now, especially like this particular thing, like it came out a month too late and then like a month too early at the same time.
Right.
It was right in that pocket of like obscurity again for like a week. Whereas then if we would have released it just like I said, like a month earlier, a month later, I think I would have had a decent chance.
After we released it and talked about it, there were multiple people on podcasts and this and everything talking about AI and Rogan and like everyone was like, "Oh, great!" Like,
yeah,
we were too early.
First.
We were too early.
Yeah, we were ahead of our time.
Yeah,
I would do anything to be appreciated in our own time. But anyway, no, I thought it's a really interesting topic, but I feel like it's a misnomer because all the things that people are talking about right now, utilizing the verbiage of AI, is not AI. It's just machine learning.
right?
Which sounds, to a normie, it sounds like, well, that's they're learning because they're becoming intelligent. But it's like, no, it's just idiots. So it is interesting. Also, you have all these people right now that are freaking out because they're hearing the term AI and they're thinking like, Spynet
Sure.
or Skynet.
Skynet.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Skynet.
I almost said Eagle Eye, and then I realized that was going to be too
That one Shia LaBeouf movie that no one saw. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like too niche of a example, so it threw me off for a second.
Yeah.
I forgot about Terminator. Which is just like it's not what it is. It's
Right.
a denoising program is what it really comes down to for most of this stuff.
So it's interesting. Artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
If you break that word down, you could also think of it as it's
fake intelligence.
Fake intelligence.
Right.
So exactly what it is right now.
Yeah. Artificial intelligence has always been, in my opinion, incorrectly represented.
Sure.
Because what we see as artificial intelligence would be better explained as mechanical sentience.
Sure.
Because that's what it actually is that we associate with.
That's what we're
oh my
talking
God,
about.
the machines are alive. Oh.
Right.
We've had AI forever. Like, you ever played Madden?
Right.
Well, the other team is AI.
Yeah.
Anytime you're playing against the computer in any game,
It's AI.
it's artificially taught how to do something.
Right.
And so it's AI.
Based on your movements, your predictive calculations, right? I
Mhm.
mean, that's it. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
So like I said, machine learning. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I think if we would have actually taken it from that point of view instead of the typical, it might have actually been more interesting.
Could have been. Yeah, we should have.
You
live, you learn.
hindsight, you know what I'm saying?
And then we delve into the topic that we tend to gravitate to and talk about often that nobody seems to care about, and that's religion.
Yeah. Which is funny. Here's the thing. We only had like 16 views, right?
Right.
Now we're not looking at how many listens we had for the audio version of this podcast.
Oh, right.
So we're only looking at the video because
Video.
a lot of these had a lot of listens as well.
Right.
By the way, when we say a lot, we mean a lot for us, which is like, 50, 60, something like that.
Right.
Not like for like successful people.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Millions.
We haven't hit 1,000 views
altogether
of our audio and video put together. I think we might have, but just barely. But yeah, religion though, even though we didn't have that many, it was probably one of our most polarizing ones because we actually had multiple comments from people on that one,
And that makes sense.
which was exactly what we said was going to happen, which is why at first we were like, we even talked about this during our first season. We were like, no, this is one of those subjects I don't want to go near. I was very adamant about it. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this shit.
Right.
And the more and more we've gotten comfortable, I think, without holding a microphone, the more we're like, fuck people.
Right.
Like, it's something that me and you talk about on the regular anyway.
Right.
It wouldn't be being us true to us if we didn't like bring it up. So let's just go ahead, jump out of the closet and be like, hey, and just like take the heat and move along.
Yeah.
Because we're going to reference it nonstop anyway.
Yep.
So we went from
Did your opinion on religion shift or change in any way?
I will say that there was a couple of comments that were so poorly thought out that it caused me to be more sure of my opinion.
Right.
Because their comments were so easily had an ability to be proved wrong, which is common sense, that it was just like, you're proving my point for me.
Right.
I didn't realize I had 6 points of why it's stupid. I thought I only had 2.
Right.
So, if anything, some of these idiots just made me feel more secure in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I think also that's just because certain people just don't know how to debate.
It could be.
Yeah. And that's not their fault.
Yeah.
Plus they're a little hard.
Yeah. It's interesting talking about it on some type of platform, in all honesty, because it is a polarizing topic. And it's interesting because I've been like a back and forth trying to understand. I sincerely have given religion a shot, and think there's some great benefits and social benefits and community benefits and so on.
Absolutely.
But just the making believe aspect of a lot of it, where it's like, I'm gonna take someone else's word for this and then like run with it. It's just interesting to me, I just think it's interesting. But it comes down to, do you feel that, fill in the blank God has spoken to you through a text or through another being? And it's like, at the end of the day, no. So
what it really, to me, what it really comes down to is when your only proof is the word faith, I don't understand why you even come to the table. Because it's your only proof of a situation is saying, because I think it is.
right.
It's like, cool, I think clowns are, hidden messiahs. Well, why would you say that? Because I have faith in it. It's just like, you can say anything ridiculous and just say, because I have faith in it.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, well, that means it's untouchable.
Right. It's how I feel.
I feel that the way the ice cream is made is when they milk the cows, it has to be under 32 degrees so it comes out frozen.
There you go.
Well, what's your proof? We've never been able to prove that. Well, yeah, that's how it used to be.
That's how it was.
It was in a book.
The Antarctic cows. You haven't heard of
Yeah,
those?
I read a book once.
Yeah.
It was a first-hand accounting.
Snow cow? You've never heard of a snow cow?
I mean, there was a whole book
Yeah.
about Christopher Columbus and all the things that he did. Anyway, so we went from that really uninteresting conversation to one that was actually very well received, which was fast food.
Yeah.
So people are much more likely to watch a video that has fast food in the title than religion,
Right.
which, shows a lot of faith.
Yeah. Dogma. Movies.
Wish that
The
would.
golden calf, baby. That's it.
You didn't say God bless you when I sneezed. And one to grow on. Oh, good times. No, that was actually a pretty funny one. That was also when we discovered something about one another that we didn't know, that we are both Burger King stans.
Yeah.
Like, how did we not know this about one another? We've always been McDonald's people. I think just out of oh, well, that's probably what's they'll want.
Availability.
Yes, fair.
Well,
also,
service.
The one that
Consistency.
the one right there on Dillard. Yeah, I'll go to McDonald's instead.
Yeah,
I don't want to go there.
yeah. No, there's a lot of reasons to go to McDonald's versus Burger King, but Burger King's food tastes better.
Yeah, it did start a consistent aspect. Since that episode, I've probably been to Burger King maybe 10, 15 times.
Right. We also learned from this episode that you didn't know what Culver's was.
Correct.
And then since then, you remedied that.
I think Culver's is probably one of the best fast food burgers I've ever had in my life.
Right.
I've been there 3 times now.
Yep. This is a good follow-up thing here because we went there together the first time. I was a little nervous. I'm like, is he going to tear this thing apart? Is he going to give it a shot?
Well,
so
because
the menu
you
was
did build it up a little bit.
I did, and that's why I'm like, oh, he hates when people do that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, this is treading water, but I believed in it. So we got
Believed
there.
in the cheese.
We got there. He looked at the menu and said, That's an interesting collection of stuff. I just saw the wonder in your eyes.
Right,
Like,
because okay,
skepticism, too.
let me give an example. All right, so for people who don't know what you're looking at, is first thing you do is you see on like the menu above like the counter at a stereotypical fast food place a build your own burger section that would look more at home on like a Chili's menu.
Right.
So right away I was confused, and then I saw mushroom Swiss burger, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Which is like usually what my food is. But I'm just like, that's not something that you normally see on the menu once again at this kind of place. And then I look over and like an appetizer, it's called sides, but it was like basically an app side. And they have like cheese curds. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then chili. And then they had chili cheese fries. And I was like, oh yes. But then they also have the pretzel bites with cheese sauce.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
And then they had a shrimp basket. And
Yeah.
they had
I forgot about the seafood stuff.
A Reuben sandwich. It's the most weird, eclectic menu you can think of.
And that's like the middle and the left-hand side. Then on the right-hand side, you have malts and shakes and what they call concrete mixers, which is basically like a Blizzard or like a McFlurry.
Yeah.
Delicious, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so it was very confusing. I think it was a perfect scenario, though. The only downside is they play country music.
Yes. Yep.
And I took the kid a couple of weeks later, and this was what I see, is her just like sitting there and then going,
and for all the people that are just listening, it was staring, slowly turning and staring up at the speaker, and then slowly turning down with a look of disgust.
yeah, I was so proud. Yeah. And she was like, is there speakers outside? And I was like, that's what I said. It was perfect.
That's what I said, actually.
And then I said, if there is, it would be right here.
Right.
It was there, but
Right.
they don't work outside.
Right.
No, so it was funny. We've now been... Yeah, me and the kid have been twice, and then she went with her grandmother once.
Oh, wow.
And then...
Did her grandmother know about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She had already gone. And then you and I went the one time, too. So I've been 3 times now. And the only reason why I haven't been more is there's only 3 in all of Central Florida. And they are 100% inconvenient for me.
Yep.
The only one that's slightly convenient is the one over here by you, but I only come over here on Fridays, and it's
still kind of out of the way.
Yeah. Like, I thought about it today, but I was just like...
If you would have said that, I would have been down.
Yeah, I know, but I really wanted a pub sub today, and then the line was too long.
That didn't even happen.
There was like 2 people in front of me, and I'm just like, I don't have the patience for this.
Yeah.
It wasn't that day. But no, that was a good episode. It did actually lead to some good stuff. A lot of Whoppers have been eaten because of that episode.
Yeah, and your life has been enriched now that you know what Culver's is. So
those chili cheese fries, dude. Here's the thing: their fries are not good. They have
it's the
wavy fries. What are they called?
Yeah, I lost it too.
Oh gosh, crinkle cut fries.
Right.
And they do salt them pretty well, but I just don't like crinkle cut. It makes me think of like a school lunch.
Sure.
But you throw some chili and some cheese on that bitch.
Yeah.
Delicious.
So
we followed up fast food with episode 31, which was social media.
Our favorite.
That one, I mean, that episode sucked. Let's just be real. Because we were so ill-informed
Yeah.
on social media as a whole that it was extremely difficult to be able to have like actual like firsthand opinions on things, especially when we were doing the questions in the beginning.
Yeah.
Where it was like, what would you rather have, this or that? And it's like, we don't care.
Like, I want it all to go away.
Exactly. In retrospect, I think like the biggest thing we should have kind of pushed more on was just like the overall effect it has over people in general, and then how I think it's interesting how like we just recently talked about how like political parties utilize it, and then also how companies utilize it. I think those are more interesting topics of how to interfuse it versus how it's just like pop culture referencing.
And we've kind of
We've had a
referenced that in it, but we didn't.
We've had a better conversations about social media in other episodes than in the social media.
Same thing with aliens, sure.
100%. Yeah. It's just there are certain subjects that sound really good when you're coming up with them, and then you sit down to talk about it, and you're just like, oh yeah, we don't do this.
Right.
Shit.
That was one for them.
Yeah. That was one. That was the studio episode,
right?
As well as the next one, which was space. Which once again, I'm like, dude, I love space. I don't know anything about space.
Nah, there's a lot of it too.
Yeah, and it's constantly expanding.
Final frontier here.
Oh my god, it's so good. Oh, it was so bad. That was another one where I feel that it got the appropriate amount of views.
Yeah.
I think it has like 16 views or something like that.
Shit about space.
It's like one of our lowest ones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that makes sense. No. The best thing about that particular episode was you were wearing a NASA shirt.
Yeah.
That was the only good thing about it. It was not a very good episode.
No.
Now the one after that though, I actually very much enjoyed Art versus Artist.
Yeah.
That was one that I think it was our longest episode. Because that one was like it was an hour and 59 minutes.
Wow.
Because we kept on going, okay, one more thing really quick.
Right.
Because that is something I think that while we have, TLDR is just like, hey, everybody should have their own opinion. And, that's what it is.
Right.
But we have our own opinions on each one of these subjects, and we want to talk about each one.
Right.
I know we went into comics. Did we talk about Louis C.K.?
I think we did.
Or did we just talk about Chappelle?
I mean, I know we've talked about Louis C.K.
Yeah.
I want to say we also mentioned it in here.
I did, yeah, because I know that I mentioned
Unless
he's on a comeback. Ba-doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those subjects. That's the other thing too, is that a week or so after we posted this one, I saw like 2 or 3 other podcasts that I listened to
that talked about him coming back. Right.
No.
Oh.
That talked about
the same
can you
thing.
separate art versus art.
Oh,
I was like,
gosh.
You son of a bitch. Made me laugh.
That's funny.
After that, we had the 2 other room episodes.
Yeah.
Time travel followed by cloning.
Right.
Both were actually pretty decent episodes. I'm not gonna lie, but it was slightly awkward. It was when we started holding the mic instead of having it on the thing itself.
Which I kind of like.
I both like and dislike it because I like it because my quality has gone much higher on like my audio quality, but everybody else's has gone a little bit worse.
Really?
Yeah. Because I consistently hold the mic in the exact same spot almost the entirety of the time. Almost everybody else will in between talking and then not talking and then talking and then not talking. And sometimes they're finishing a word as they're moving it. And so it goes.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I'm also lazy, so it'd be great if I didn't have to hold it.
Yeah, you are lazy.
Yeah, 100%. But no, time travel was interesting. I think cloning though was the better overall conversation, just because of the fact it's the morality aspect of it, right?
Sure.
Because what it really comes down to is just like, how are these clones mentally, and then what are they used for? Because it's it's kind of like important information.
Well, cloning is science, whereas time travel is science fiction. So
Currently,
Okay.
Well, cloning
Currently.
20 years ago was science fiction.
Sure.
That's a lie. 30 years ago.
Yeah, sure. I still think that cloning is going to be a very real thing we deal with, whereas time travel is, unless it already exists, and
Well, we're currently traveling through time.
yeah, we always forward. Yeah, exactly. Idiot. Or
I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say jumps off me and sticks back onto you.
it bounces off, you mean?
No, it jumps off.
Mm-hmm. It would.
Commit suicide.
It definitely would. The rope. Go to the rope store next to the rickety stool store.
They're always right next to each other. I don't want to get political.
Norm. Anyway. So, but with time travel, unless
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
we keep traveling back and destroying time travel, it's because time travel is the thing that destroys us. Bum, bum, bum. Kind of like Terminator, but except,
That's like that looper shit.
yeah, it's like Looper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Then after that, we actually did one that is the missing episode, which was episode 36, which unfortunately we don't have a video for.
Bum, bum, bum.
It was the one we did with Jonathan on
Parenting.
nope. Gosh, now I can't think of what it was.
You know why?
Huh.
Because it went on so long.
I know, because he doesn't ever shut up. No, I love Jonathan, but he's long-winded. Oh my gosh, now I literally cancel culture. That's what it was.
That's what it was.
Gosh, I'm like, what the heck was it called? Because obviously we're looking at our videos and
There was no video.
there's no video for that one. I almost forgot it was there completely, to be completely honest.
We almost canceled it.
Yeah. That was actually a really good one. The only the audio. Oh, the audio. That was, editing that one almost broke me. Shh, put the freaking mic back. I wanted to strangle somebody so bad on that one. Anyway, no, cancel culture was a good one because it's another one of those topics where I think that it's a challenging topic to be able to openly discuss
Without being canceled.
right, because people automatically have an automatic disposition against the phrasing cancel culture because usually it's used as a negative, which I get it, but it's the only way to talk about it is by like giving it a name to then be able to reference it, and it is what it is. So it was a good conversation, and I'm actually really happy that we did have Jonathan. I think having a third person for that particular one was actually really helpful.
Sure.
But yeah, it was very long. It was all the things we recorded with Jonathan were a little bit of a marathon.
Well, it's 3 people, so there's 3 opinions.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So then after that one, we did conspiracy theory. That one was also pretty fun. I enjoyed talking about
Conspiracy theories, man. Let me tell you. We watched a movie recently, and this guy, he had him on lock. The movie we just saw today. Oh my gosh.
that. Yeah. Sorry, no, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Every line he had was one.
Yeah,
basically.
it was just one thing after another.
Yeah.
I want to have you on our podcast. I want to talk about Roswell and the alien landings. Yeah, no, I think that conspiracy theories are actually really fun. I think that the biggest miss was that we had a conversation pretty hardcore about Bigfoot and Nessie and things like that. And then right at the end, we started thinking about all of like I would say non-popular, but like the more like smaller scale ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, we should have talked about those.
Right.
I think we could probably do a podcast about conspiracy theories and just have like good old fun with that.
Yeah.
just talking about like cryptids and like all kinds of crazy stuff that people believe in.
Straw man.
Straw man. That sounds so familiar.
Well, we'll have to talk
Yeah.
about it.
That's interesting. After conspiracy theories, we did media attention.
Yep.
Media attention, for those of you who don't know, which is currently everyone, is the only episode this season that we had to do twice.
It's true.
We recorded the episode, and it was over 2 hours long. And
But that's not why.
multiple times while we were like trying to end the episode, I just kept thinking, oh, the editing is going to be horrible. Oh, this editing is going to take forever. And then I got up to go look at the camera and found out that of that over 2 hour long recording session, it only recorded the first 5 minutes because then it died.
That's when Michael learns how to plug things in all the way.
It wasn't my fault, in all fairness.
No?
No, because the portion that I actually plugged in was plugged in correctly. That was not, and it was already plugged in.
Oh.
Yeah. I think, honestly, what I think one of us just accidentally kicked it or like walked.
No, it wasn't like put in all the way. It's weird.
No, because the block was, but the cord into the block wasn't.
That makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. I think one of us must have stepped on it or kicked it or something, or one of the animals or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But because of that,
Or the charge held last time, and we didn't know.
yeah, that must
know?
have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, because of that situation, we were like, we're gonna have to do this again.
Yeah.
I will say, I think that overall it was a benefit of us doing that episode again.
It definitely was.
Because it then turned into like an hour and like 10, 15 minutes or something like
We
that.
talked about like guns more than anything else
In the first one.
in the first one.
We went heavy into guns and school shootings
Yeah.
and argued about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then in the second one, we were like, hey, let's just not bring that subject up.
Right.
And we talked about it for like good 30 seconds. We're like, cool, moving on.
Right.
Which when we were talking about all the other points, I think it was a fair. I think we got our opinions across better the second time through with that particular one.
Yeah.
Then after media attention, we did video game violence,
Mm-hmm.
which was also it was a fun one, but I feel like that was one where some of the questions we had in the beginning that we were like, oh, we're going to come back to this later. I don't think we came back to a single one of them, and I think those would have been more interesting than some of the things we did spend time on. We never really got into. Both of us answered the question. I just recently edited this one, that's why it's still fresh in my mind.
Oh.
Do you think that violent video games can cause people to do violent acts? And we both said yes.
Right.
But then we never spoke on what we meant by it. Because my thing was like, yes, but I say yes, but I have a big ass asterisk on that.
You said that, and then you didn't really get into that.
Right.
But I remember explaining how I felt about
the biggest thing that you explained that could have been looked at from that point of view was you learning how to drive stick shift from YouTube. But I still disagree that is a valid example, just because that's you just watching an instructional video. It's the same thing as somebody watching PBS. They're not interacting with it. They're not playing a video game. I understand they're both forms of video media, but it is different. One is meant to teach you how to do something.
Then I went into VR and how you're practically, immersing yourself and then like going through movements to do things. One thing that I was going to talk about in there that I didn't was, which they currently use VR for like fire departments for like EMS training and like emergency services type stuff, where they're actively, I guess, putting themselves in those scenarios and going through those motions of CPR and this and that. The dummy's there, but it looks like a person kind of doing all those types of, movements and stuff. And like the idea is to immerse someone into that so they are more prepared for the event of that situation happening rather than just setting up a set or whatever, which isn't practical to do every time. And,
right.
Everything.
My thing is I find it very difficult to correlate pulling this trigger to shoot the person to then pulling this trigger to shoot a person in real life.
Sure.
To me, that's completely and totally different things.
Yeah. I think, and as we did talk about in that episode, to someone who, has all their faculties when it comes to that,
right,
and that line isn't blurred between fantasy and reality, where I do think that's where the mental illness comes into play. And then it's like, okay, but what contributes to that, or what perpetuates that type of fantastical thinking or fantasy, right? So I don't know. I think it's just because we're on the cusp of something greater when it comes to tricking the brain,
right?
There's going to have some adverse effects. But back then, when they were saying it, that was crap.
Oh yeah. Because like during their time frame, like the biggest thing they had to worry about was Tetris. So,
which I do want to see that movie, by the way. Movie about the making of Tetris.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's with Eggsy.
No way.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
So after that one, we did the videos aren't right there for me to look at, which is why I'm taking a second to have to think. Oh yeah, we did the political parties.
Political parties. That's right.
That was one that I will say, when we were writing down the list, I want to say I came up with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And we put it in there for scheduling to do it. And then right much from that point on, I was like, I don't want to do this one. Because it's talking about my least favorite thing, which is politics.
Right.
And then it's also talking about a subject where people can get their panties in a knot because you're talking bad about what they believe in.
Yeah, it's almost like religion, right?
Right. And it's just like, oh, God. Put those two things together. And then also, I'm just not super knowledgeable about that stuff because I don't, care about it. I thoroughly enjoyed recording that.
It was a good
convo.
Right. Now, I will say this. I don't feel like that's going to get any traction on the whole video thing.
No, I don't think so either.
Only because no one wants to hear about it or to deal with it because it's always forced on them.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things where I feel like the people that listen to us on the regular anyway, I think will find it interesting, not because of what we're saying, but because of who we are saying it.
Sure. I think people are going to want to know our opinion. So when they see politics and then us, like, oh, what are they going to say about that? I've always wondered if so-and-so was a
Nazi.
Put us in a box. Yeah, Nazi for you.
For you.
No.
Obviously, I'm the Jew. You're trying to oppress me.
Oh, sure.
And then
preheated the
oven. But no, yeah, it was actually a really good conversation. I actually really enjoyed that one. Much more than I did some of the ones I actually thought I was going to enjoy.
Right.
And then the last one was the one we did do with Jonathan again, which was the parenting Gen Z and Alpha.
Right.
Which we did record all the things with Jonathan on the same day, much earlier in the season, just for scheduling purposes. And that was another one that I felt was a really good conversation.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because, we do all have things both in common and not in common.
Right.
And so it was interesting because, one of the things that I forget about is that both of you guys have an interracial marriage
Oh yeah.
and multiracial children.
Right.
But you guys are opposite. So
Right.
it was also interesting from that point of view too. And I find it just, the different aspects and the different ages and then genders of our children was just a very, very good cross section of information.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like a lot of times when these things are talked about, it's like everybody on like the subject has like the exact same situation.
Sure.
It's like, oh yeah, well, we all have kids that are between 4 and 6. Right. We all live in the same neighborhood.
Right.
And we all grew up together, so we all grew up exactly the same way. And it's like every one of us has a different like situation.
That's true.
So.
That's true. And I learned that my kids are Gen Alpha because I don't keep track of where the cutoffs are for any of that. Nor do I normally care.
Right. That was the one thing. And like I said, because the kid was born in 2012, it's one of those annoying things.
Yeah.
Where some people say that means that she's like the last of Gen Z.
The Mayan calendar came to an end.
Right.
So
and other people are like, oh no, she's 100% like the first part of Gen Alpha. And it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Just like technically you and I are millennials, but then we're also sometimes considered Gen X. And then there's also that fun hybrid one, which is Zennials, which is the mixture tail end type thing. And it's just like,
who thinks of this crap? Who puts these people in boxes? I don't, it's like
the world.
It's interesting.
But I mean, it's always happened that way.
It's always happened.
Yeah. Generations they always have a name.
Labeled. But like, I
Although
want to say the hybrid stuff is new though.
The most pretentious crap is the greatest generation.
Oh yeah.
They're literally, that's the name of their generation. The greatest generation.
Right.
And it's like,
well, it's industry.
Whatever, bro. You made the freaking nukes. I don't want to hear it.
Well, they're not the greatest generation, clearly.
Obviously, they had Nazis in their generation.
Well, yeah.
The birth of Nazis.
But without nukes, there wouldn't be Godzilla. So.
Right. So there wouldn't be as much death. You're right. Moving on.
No. What are you talking about?
There's no buildings left.
Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not even saying it right.
Gojira.
You had to consciously think about that. That was funny.
Well, I said the American way to say it. So,
Oh, I'm thinking of so many things that are inappropriate right now. But that kind of brings us to the end of the season. Obviously, now we're doing this one.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
We're wrapping it up, getting it all ready. But that kind of leads us on to what we're doing next. So this whole decision to even like start making the podcast kind of stemmed from a different idea in the beginning. The original idea that I pitched to you was us drinking beer,
right?
Talking about movies,
right?
And we kiboshed that one pretty early on in like the development phase, and then we came up with this format for the Venti questions, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and just before we segue into that, we came up with a format to remind people of this, is because this is what we used to do back when we went to Denny's, right? And pulled all-nighters and drank coffee,
right? And
just talked. And it was conversation. So it's like we just brought the point of doing the podcast together is to kind of have an excuse to see each other and talk to each other, do the friendship thing, actively participate in a friendship again,
right.
Which we're bad at,
For those of you who don't know this, we record almost every Friday.
Yeah.
And we usually start recording at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night and literally go almost the entire night overnight.
Right.
So it's literally a representation of what we used to do.
Right.
That being said, you also might notice that about, I think starting in episode like 34, we haven't been drinking coffee anymore.
Yeah.
And what it really came down to was a combination of a couple things. One, it's not that we don't like coffee. We love coffee, but I don't like being pigeonholed into it.
Right.
And then on top of that, it was a hassle because it was, well, we have to do this, and then we have to do this, and we have to do this. And recording an hour-long episode would take roughly 3 hours.
It became work.
It became, yeah, and it was like, it was frustrating because it's like, okay, we're doing all this stuff really quickly, trying to hurry through it just so that we can get to the point where we can do this thing.
Right.
And it was like, and so because we've decided to, ditch the coffee aspect, we kind of feel that this is also probably the full course of the Venti Questions podcast as it currently is has kind of come to an end.
Right. Because we no longer do the questions like we originally were doing, where we have 20 questions, we pick them out of a cup. What's in the cup, right? So we got rid of the questions part when it came to like that segment.
Right.
And now the Venti part, well, that was a play on 20 questions, right? So Venti 20. So it's like a coffee kind of thing. So it's like, well, now we got rid of the Venti. We got rid of
the other version.
The other version of Venti, right?
So now we have of our 3-word title is podcast.
Yeah.
So what we've decided we're going to do is we're going to kind of rebrand, start over, kind of in a sense.
Sure.
So the first thing is that starting next week, we'll still have a podcast.
Yep.
We are changing the name. It's going to be called the Discourse Duo.
That's us.
That's us. And it will, next week, it'll still be exactly where this one is. It's going to come out just like everything else, like normal. And we're going to do that for the first week just for simplicity.
Yep.
Moving forward, though, starting on week 2, episode 2 of the Discourse Duo podcast, that will be on its own everything.
Yeah.
It'll have a completely different YouTube channel. It'll have a completely different feed on any of the audio podcast sites. So like a Spotify or Stitcher or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. You'll be able to just search for Discourse Duo and it'll pop up from there.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, as we mentioned before, we still love watching movies and reviewing them as well.
Mm-hmm.
That is also something we are going to continue to do, but it itself will also be a separate YouTube channel. And the reason for that is mostly nerdy algorithm stuff. So one of the things about starting YouTube channels is that you want to consistently produce videos that are within the same general niche. And the problem with having a podcast that's pretty much about anything and everything like we had, and then also movie reviews in the same channel, is that the algorithm doesn't know who the heck to show it to.
Right.
And so it causes it to be a little bit slower of an overall situation for us. And so over the past 6-8 months now that we've been doing this, my editing has gotten my editing and our just overall shooting, like we no longer do the 3 cameras or anything like that, just because I don't have the time. So now we do our single cams a little bit faster. We have a better workflow for it. So posting the 2 videos a week that we were currently doing on one channel is exactly the same as doing it on 2 separate channels.
Right.
It's just that we'll be a little bit more specified for it. So that is something that we'll also be doing. That also will be, it'll be underneath the title of screen discussions. We are going to drop the Venti questions aspect from it, but it still will be considered screen discussions.
Yeah.
So as we have more information on like what all of the handles are and all that kind of stuff, we will give them more likely, like I said, next week when we have our episode 1 of the Discourse Duo. We'll have a little bit more definites on those. Also, we are going to be changing just like the overall style.
Yep.
So
as far as our segments and what we talk about, and not really maybe what we talk about, because we're going to still talk about similar things in some fashion, but like the way we structure it and how we go about just laying out the conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more casual. For instance, when we did holidays, we knew that was going to be episode 23, and we knew what every single episode was going to be from that point on.
Right.
Moving forward, these are not going to have the titles that they currently have. I'm not even going to title them like this anymore. I'm going to have a different... I'm not planning on... I'm just... Episode number is what I'm really planning on doing with the titles. Like, it is what it is, whatever we happen to talk about.
Right.
I want to bring in more of just like conversational type things where it's like, hey, I saw this stupid thing. What do you think about this? And then let's just talk about it. Or, hey, here's a funny list that I saw on Twitter of like, 10 worst pickup lines you've ever like seen or said or used or whatever. Just dumb things that we can utilize to kind of be conversation starters instead of having a destination predetermined. Just let the conversation naturally go.
And agreed. And the other component that we've talked about at length is us being more us, and us being a little more natural in our speech, in our vernacular. And I think we did the right thing in the beginning doing this with 2 seasons of Venti questions, being a little bit more like PG and PC and all the P's, only because now when we're searched and people see that, they can just click on a bunch of stuff and it all sounds good, but fuck it all is basically what we're
here's
saying.
The thing, like, I think over the past, like, we made this decision probably around like that episode 34, 35 time frame.
Yeah.
And since then, I personally have stopped censoring myself nearly as much as I normally do.
Yeah.
I mean, I still censor myself a lot. But yeah, I agree, because part of the aspect of why I think that what we can bring to the table as far as entertainment with our conversations has a lot to do with our actual personalities.
Right.
And when I'm being informative, I'm not being me.
Right.
Right. And when I'm trying to have a cohesive thought process on a particular topic so that I'm ensuring, I'm not trying to sound like smarter than I am, but I'm trying to make sure that I also represent myself in the fact that, like, hey, I took this seriously, like, look into this.
Sure.
Whereas then if we're talking about random stupid shit, I can just make dumb jokes and be happy
and have fun.
Right.
And that's a great
and be sick.
And that's a great point in, in self-reflection and observation there. And for me, it was the fear of my job. And we got into like talking about some of these topics of like cancel culture and art versus artist bullshit and everything like that. And it's like, you know what? The things I'm saying and the things that I really do believe in my opinion on these things, I should really live it too. And yes, is there a risk of being more casual and someone hearing it and finding it and me losing my job? And then is it worth it? There's always a risk for anything we do. At the end of the day, like treat people really well. I don't, marginalize or take opportunities from anyone in my place of business, or, the things I believe and the things I think are right. I can completely fully live those. Now, if I want to say a joke and if someone feels offended by a joke, eat my dick. Like, I'm sorry. I'm home in my own house recording this. Lick my nuts. I don't care.
Well, and the biggest thing too is that, I mean, once again, since episode 34, the amount of Jew jokes have like tripled. And there's still nowhere near the amount of jokes that normally would be thrown my way. You know what I mean? So it is one of those things where it's like we are now subconsciously edit.
Sure.
Which is so
it's very restricting. And the thing is, like, those Jew jokes that you refer to, like, that's our friendship from the beginning. And like it started off you saying them and self-deprecating in a way that I'm like, oh yeah, I could do this. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not because,
I mean, you've earned the right to be able to say them to me. You might as well actually freaking enjoy it.
It's
like, you know what I mean?
It's like if you were black and you were instead of Jewish and we're okay with that one white friend saying the word.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And it's like, well, you might as well enjoy it while we're at the house. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you say it in public, I have to kill you.
Right. I have to make a stance.
There's like 3 people. I'm thinking, hold on. Maybe like 5 people that can like say a really fucked up Jew joke to me and I'll just laugh and it'd be like, you're a bitch.
Right.
And if anyone else says it, I get very angry and I would probably revert back to my old self. So it's like, if you're one of those few people,
that's
man.
When Hitler comes out.
Fuck you, you little prick. Mussolini, bitch. But yeah, no. So it's just like, it is something that we're looking forward to doing. I have a couple of ideas for like some stupid shit that I want to talk about. So it's not going to be, just for clarification, because I don't want this to be a 4-hour long podcast, but we are still going to have like little segments of like joking around or like dumb questions and things like that.
Yeah,
it's just not going to be as like perfectly segmented,
right?
You know what I mean?
Regimented and structured. Where we have to do it for each episode.
I mean, I'm sure we'll come up with some spiel how we open it every single time the same way, and that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But it's just like, we're not gonna always do this and then follow this and then do this and follow this. And some weeks we're gonna talk about something. For instance, one of the things that I thought would be really funny to bring up is we've totally missed a golden opportunity that we have. We live in Florida.
Florida man strikes again.
Florida man is something that we have a unique perspective on.
We are the Florida man.
Exactly. So I think it'd be fun every once in a while, like look up and just be like, all right, what's the most recent stupid Florida man thing? And then like I'll read it out and we can talk about it.
We should just call their podcast the Florida Men.
Fuck that. I don't want to be associated with those fucking retards, dude. Oh my God, I'm from Cali, bro. I can't be associated with these people.
You're from Cali.
Fuck that.
Boise.
I just
Cali,
live here.
Anywhere else but.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all better.
It's all better.
But no, like that is something there. We've talked a lot of times about doing like, am I the assholes? As questions. Don't look at me like that, you schmuck.
He's the asshole.
Yeah. There's a lot of like really cool different like Reddit posts where it's just like situations that have happened.
Dude, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, I want to talk about random shit.
Yeah, we're gonna take the outline and the schoolboy structure out of the shit, and we're gonna have a good time and have a conversation.
Yeah. So
we're gonna enjoy it.
It's like I said, we're having it called the Discourse Duo, which is a wonderful play on words. Just because of the dynamic duo, obviously.
No.
And obviously, any good alliteration is good. And at the end of the day, we now have the Double D podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So, 2 dicks, 1 mind. It's all there.
Yep.
I'm excited for
These guys got to figure it out,
Wow. So, right now, because of how we record, when you hear this, the very following week will be our first episode.
Yeah.
For us, we have a little bit of like a month or so.
Yeah.
To kind of come up with some.
We got to get the copy right, and we got to.
Well, we gotta get our branding, get our all of our ducks in a row and shit for that. So for like the responsible portions, just so that when we sit down next time to record one of these things, we can just be us.
Just want to be me.
I just don't want to have to do any prep other than like a couple little things.
And show up and we talk.
Yeah.
And we have a good time.
And that'll be good enough for me.
That'll be good. We'll enjoy it again.
Yes.
Not to say that, listen, I enjoy it.
This has been fun. Like I agree with what you said earlier, that I'm very happy that before we decided to do that we did the first season the way we did that. Because what I learned from the first season is, holy shit, is it hard to do top 10 type things. And on top of that, it's even harder to make them interesting.
Right.
Then it was one of those things where it's like, okay, now I know that while I can do informational, like news story type style exposés on topics, I don't have the time and energy to do that. And it's not what I enjoy. I like talking about certain topics, but I feel that I have more fun spontaneously falling into that topic than to be thinking about it all week long.
It's basically, we have a better time as friends doing friend things, right? And the reason why we've got along so well, even though we both are assholes to each other, it's because of that right there. Because we allow ourselves to be assholes to each other, and it works.
We don't go not only that, because it's our friendship has gotten to the point. I mean, got to this point like 15 years ago, where it was no longer a, oh, did I hurt your feelings? Oh, I didn't mean that.
Right.
Because, yeah, I might hurt your feelings, but you already know that I didn't mean it like that. So you go, fucking dick. And then you move along. And vice versa.
Right.
There's no longer any of that annoying shit. Like, we got past the honeymoon period.
Yeah, right.
Now we're just fucking married.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a fucking, like, I'm gonna throw up right next to you and just be like, I'll clean it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna, like, hold my hair back or pat my back. You're gonna be like, oh my God, what the fuck did you eat, you fucking pig?
Right.
Like, that's where the relationship's at now.
Although that's never happened, but sure. So
I don't think I've ever thrown up around you.
You have.
I have?
I think I've witnessed.
Not drunk thrown up.
I want to say once, but because that's not our friendship.
No, we both have been alcoholics, but never with one another.
Right.
Just like we've never been adults and single together.
Correct. We've had a few crossover moments with a past job. It was like 1, 2.
Yeah.
And
because
then
we had different crowds by that point in time.
Yeah. And then there was when you were in college.
That one didn't really count.
And that was it.
Yeah.
When we lived together, we never drank together. We had a no alcohol policy in our place.
The first time we lived together. The first couple times we lived together.
Our development.
But when we lived
years.
in Scooter days, we did drink, but very rarely at the house. We did have beer, we drank at Gators when we played pool.
Gators and pool.
Yeah.
That's the only time we actually had a drinking relationship together. And it was
just
it was Yinglings.
Couple 2 or 3 pitchers.
Right.
That's not going to do shit to either of us.
Right.
We could have easily both drank those by ourselves and been fine.
Yeah. And those times are fun. But,
Yeah.
You know?
But that's not what our relationship is really built on. Like, we don't need the alcohol.
Nah.
No. We're eating friends.
Yes.
We are subs and movies.
Right.
Is typically how we're going to like just chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Just, our life is just comprised of finding and consuming food. Another Norm reference there.
That's a good one, though. Cheese sandwiches. It really did make me crave some fucking grilled cheese sandwiches.
Right? Yeah.
The weird part is he didn't say the word grilled.
No.
Is it just cold?
Yeah.
Fucking weirdo. Although I eat blocks of cheese.
Yeah, I've done that.
No, I mean like.
Yeah, me too.
I eat a couple blocks of cheese a week.
Oh, a week?
Yeah.
Oh, whenever they're around, I will. I don't buy them.
Like the blocks like this, and then I just I slice it all the way down, and then I just eat the whole.
I don't slice it.
The worst part is, you know what I use to wash it down? Milk.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
So I'm eating hardened milk and then washing it down with liquid milk. I know I called it liquid milk. Fuck off. Is there anything else that you wanted to that I forgot or didn't mention or anything like that you can think of before we end it out?
No, I think that's really it. We talked about what we did. We talked about what we're gonna do, and we're excited to do it. I think that's kind of where we're at. And a lot of people have been asking us to, at least the people that I've spoken with, like, oh, well, why don't you guys just like be more you, like, and I've heard that a few times in different ways because people are trying to be nice and not disrespect what we do, which is why we're probably not as good as friends with them because they don't just say it. Sorry.
Oh, that made my brain hurt. Ow.
In all honesty, right? Everyone wants to be nice, which is fine, and I get that, I respect that.
Really hurt.
Yeah, you got to stop coughing till your brain hurts.
Dude, I don't know what it is, but every once in a while I have a cough, and like the cough is causing like literally my brain to like splash forward and just plow right into my freaking skull, and it hurts super bad.
A lot of room in there, huh?
Look, at least my shit's not smooth as shit like yours. Anyway.
It's smooth, baby. Smooth criminal. Got a lot of wrinkles in your brain, baby.
Yeah.
It makes you smart.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you not?
I know that, which is why I said that.
Okay, just checking.
Because I'm smart.
Fucking retard.
Idiot.
Man, my head really hurts. All right, so just really quick, one last thing is we really do appreciate everybody who has kind of been following along. We have a few people that have been there like every step of the way. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And then we do have a few people, just random people on YouTube that have like subscribed to us, stuff like that. And while I would love for you guys to follow us over to the new things that we're doing, I totally get it if it's not your cup of tea. Don't feel obligated, but the same token, cute. If you are wanting to still follow what we do, like I said, for the first week, we will post everything on the same places. But moving past that, we will be having all new things. So you will have to actually re-find us and subscribe and all that kind of stuff.
We'd appreciate that.
So I do apologize for it. I just want to make sure that we're doing a nice, clean setup for everything. But yeah, so outside of that, thanks for joining us on this little journey. We had a fun time, and this was a good 6-8 months of doing this one, and now we're about to get on that next leg, and hopefully we'll see you over there.
Yeah. Although we go to the end of the road. No.
All right, y'all have a good one. Bye. It's Boys to Men, End of the Road. I got you.